Here on the OCU Athletics Update, we're talking to Delaware Resource Group Superstar Athlete of the Week, Mattison Parker, freshman wrestler from Fort Worth, Texas, who recently became an All-American. And Mattison, for you, a 7th place finish at the WCWA. What went into your performance in that tournament?
So before that tournament, we were really just focused on just getting mat time, getting matches, practicing our own moves. So mostly I was just concentrating on really the process of wrestling and learning rather than just trying to win matches. So.
You did come through with 3 pins in your final home duels, or home matches rather. What has been clicking for you lately?
I think when we first started the season, I was really overwhelmed by just wrestling college, coming back from my injury, and I think that was really having an effect on my wrestling. And so recently I've been trying to be more relaxed about it, and I think that's been what's helping me a lot.
What would you say your ritual is before your matches?
Okay, so before my matches, I just like to act silly. I do cartwheels and things. At the WCWAs, I was bouncing around on the floor, and I was like, "Look, I'm a frog! I'm a frog!" And people, they would be shaking their heads at me, and I was like, "I'm a windmill," and I would just like swing my arms around. And but I think it helped me to be loose physically, but like also mentally, to keep my mind from getting too stiff and concentrated.
You mentioned suffering an injury last year. How does your rehab go, and how did you feel like you grew throughout that process?
Yeah, the rehab was really tough, and they tell you that before you have surgery. They're like, "This is going to be a tough rehab," and I was like, "Okay, well, I wrestle, so what's tougher than that?" And then it was really hard. There's days where you want to quit and you want to not wrestle, but I think I grew a lot through it. I learned a lot about mostly just pushing through and having to be positive a lot. There was a time I was just lifting my upper body because I couldn't do my leg, and I remember I just broke down and started crying because I was just thinking about everything. And my dad told me, he's like, "You have to be positive right now." And so, I just remember now, like, to be positive and you have to look past to the end goal, and you can't just get caught up in what's going on.
So is that the advice that you would have for other athletes who are recovering from major injury?
That, and I would say to make sure you have a support system, because I couldn't have come back alone by myself.
Tell us about your relationship and your rapport with your fellow freshman wrestler, Irene Sanchez.
Irene, she was my first friend that I made here, and she's one of my best friends here. We're together all the time. It's so funny because if we're not together, like, "Where's Irene?" And I was like, "How am I supposed to know? I don't know." And then, "Aren't you guys roommates?" Just because we're together all the time. We're not roommates, so it's just really funny.
We've had your coach in here, we've had Rachel in here talking about the time you spent at Oklahoma State in the Women in Sports event and being able to influence the next generation, perhaps, of women's wrestling. What was that like for you personally? That
was really cool because I've been to a lot of clubs and a lot of mat rooms, and there's few girls, at least less girls than boys in the room, but there was just a room full of young girls trying to learn the sport. It was just really cool to see how it's growing and getting to help them.
Your dad was a strength and conditioning coach at Texas Christian. What kind of impact has he had on you and on the program?
Yeah, my dad's great. He wrote our program, our lifting program, and that's really beneficial to me because it's a program that I'm familiar with, I'm comfortable with, and I think that the girls really appreciate it. I think we're all getting stronger from it. So he provides us with a lot in that aspect.
What brought you to OCU?
A lot of things, actually. I like the location. I have a lot of family in Oklahoma, so it just feels a lot like home to me. The wrestling program, obviously, was a really big factor there, too. I really like that it was a small school. Because it's like a community here, so that's really cool.
And what's your major?
I'm an exercise sports science major.
And so what kind of career plans do you have for yourself when college is over?
Oh.
Big question for a freshman, I know.
Yeah, I know. I like so much in that field. Right now I'm thinking physical therapy, so I'll have to go to school for that after this. But
all right, that's Delaware Resource Group Superstar Athlete of the Week, Mattison Parker. You can follow the stars on OCUsports.com.
What I've learned the most from golf is to have integrity in everything you say and do.
One of the biggest lessons of that sports impacts my daily life is discipline.
Be a champion of character, it just means to realize first that you're a part of something that's bigger than yourself.
Being a part of NAIA is something that I'm going to keep with me forever because it's not only made me a better athlete, but it's made me a better person.
The NAIA really just cares about their student athletes and just the experience in general at the school, and I think that that's really important.
The NAIA stands for, has great core values. One that's most important to me is servant leadership. Being able to serve your community is a huge reason why I chose the NAIA.
I am a champion of character.
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 Here on the OCU Athletics Update, we're talking to women's basketball coach Bo Overton. The Stars are ranked #1 and are undefeated on the season. And coach, last week, 3 wins, 2 of those on the road. How did your team respond to your schedule last week?
I thought it came at a good time because I think last week kind of prepared us for this week. We play 2 good teams, that are high in our conference and need to be ready to execute and play against them because they'll be ready to go.
On a few occasions this year, you guys have had to come from behind despite being undefeated, always able to pull out the win in those situations. But what kind of challenges has your team faced in those scenarios?
Well, I think number one, we've played a tough schedule. We've got good teams in our league that shows nationally. But the biggest thing is I just think, we get everybody's best shot. Everybody plays really good against us. So our players know that from last year, the year before. So the experience in our team, we've got 4 seniors that have played a lot of games. And I think that they understand that we got to prepare and get our work done because and especially this week, we've got 2 teams that have a lot to play for, and we got to be ready to go.
Tell us about the contributions from your senior class this year.
It's a very unique group because it's really one team in itself. You have the point guard, you have the post player, you have the wing player, you have, it's just everybody's got their own niche on this team. Every one of them could start. Every one of them has started, and from their career. So it's a very unique bunch. It's a great crew to work with. They work extremely hard, and they're good players. But I think the biggest thing that's for me is they're better people. They're great students. They're better people, and I just I can't believe that we got senior week or senior game on this Saturday, and it has flown by.
A lot of players coming back from last year's team, but who are some of the newcomers and how have they kind of worked their way into this team?
Well, I think, if you really look at the freshmen that we have, maybe not all of them play. You got Riley Watson, you got Riley Westervelt, you got Jalen Knight. They all don't play the same, but they all have a big part of this team. Jalen Knight's going to be a good player. She's really athletic, can run. She's a smart kid. Really impressed with her. She just is a freshman on a team that has a lot of experience and has a lot of players ahead of her, and she's really working hard and waiting for her time. And when that time comes, she's going to be a good one.
And of course, the one newcomer who really has seized a role is Erica Ankney at point guard. What has she meant for your team? Well,
anytime you have a player like her, Erica's a tough player. Not only with her physical, but she's tough-minded, and that's a perfect combination to have the ball in your hands as much as she has. She makes great decisions. She's had games where teams have really helped off on our inside game where she's made 4 or 5 threes in a game. And so it just seems to me like she's really come to know how to play, especially with this team being a newcomer. And I can't be more happy with her, and I think just the best is yet to come for her.
What kind of growth have you seen from this team coming off of a year in which you made it to the national championship game?
Well, I think, like you said a while ago, we had a lot of returners back that played last year, and that's a huge help. When you go through the gauntlet we go through, and like I said a while ago, where you get everybody's best shot, and when you go through that and then you do it again, you've seen it before. You know how to prepare. You know what you're doing. And I think this crew, the fact that, we have 3 sophomores that do a lot for us. But if you think about it, as much as they do, they got to have help from the seniors. People like, Brennan that does so much for us. And then, even though Peyton's injured right now, the year she was having, the experience she brought to the team. And I think even with her injury, she's able to help in different ways because she's been out there and seen it before. And so we really have a good mix, and that's one of the reasons we've done so well.
What was your experience with Oklahoma City University as a young player?
Growing up, my father was a high school coach here in the city, and so a couple of his players played at OCU, so we would always come to a lot of the games. So I can remember, that's one of the first things I remember is coming to Frederickson Fieldhouse, sitting on the first row, watching the games and watching those great teams play, and Coach Lemons and Coach Hansen and all of them. And what's unique and fun about that is then as I grew older and got bigger, and now all of a sudden a couple of them are recruiting me. Coach Lemons was at Texas, and Coach Hansen was at OSU, and all of that stuff. As you get older, you just can't believe that you get to live through that. And I always had great memories of OCU and being around this place, and it just seems like yesterday.
All right, that's women's basketball coach Bo Overton. You can follow the Stars on OCUsports.com.